Interest has killed us. We print money in the United States with the Federal Reserve, and we owe them $2 trillion in interest. What a scam and a sham. But did you know in the Islamic religion, you cannot charge a fellow Muslim interest rates? If you're going to help build him a house, he has to give you a collateral if it fails, but you can't charge him 1%, 2 or 3. How many people in Europe do you think would be willing to sell their soul or convert from what they are to survive economically when you've got one system that says 7.5% and another system that has trillions of dollars in oil money that says you come with us, no interest? I'm going to tell you, I know people, I know politicians in Washington that would sell their mama out. I'm serious. This is what I believe is possible, how some of these things could happen. Now, the year 2008, is everybody hearing this now? I want to make sure. Are you with me? Raise your hand. All right, that's everyone. The year 2008 to 2011 is significant because 2011, we're 2010, 2011 is the year 1431 on the Islamic calendar. Why is that interesting? Because there was a prediction made that there would be a year of victory of moral values and a year of the Quran that adds up to our year 2008. It was predicted that in 30 to 40 years after the year 1981, now and again I'm using their number on their calendar and translating it to our year, so to make it simple, a world leader would come. This would be, again, on our calendar between the year 2001 to 2011. This new leader would help unite Islam, form an Islamic union, help introduce the Mahdi, and would be called the Uniter. Y'all know where I'm going? Now, all of these predictions I just named about the year 1400, a king dying, this happening, they can be self-fulfilling because actually if you predict the king can die, somebody can go take the king out, which we understand happened with a man that was a peacemaker by the name of Anwar Sadat. However, the question I want to ask is this: how do Muslims view the 44th president of the United States? How do they view him? How do they look at him? What are they saying behind the scenes about him? And is there a significance to President Obama's background of how he would view the Middle East? Would he, for example, be so pro-Islamic that he would not be pro-Israel? Would he somehow favor Islamic nations above the Jewish state because of his raising, his background, and the people that he associated with? Let's take a journey. This is all public knowledge. President Obama's family, first, his father was a Muslim from Kenya named Barack Hussein Obama Sr., who died in 1982. His stepfather was a Muslim by the name of Lolo Soterio, and I don't have the year that he died, but he passed away. Number 3, his grandfather was a Muslim, Hussein Onyango Obama. He died in 1979. Interesting. Obama's name was Barry Soetoro, and he changed his name to Barack Hussein Obama after his father's name when he was in college. He attended school in Indonesia as a child, which is the largest Islamic nation in the world. He spent several years and did studies in the Quran, according even to his book, Dreams of My Fathers. His parental step-grandmother is a Muslim, Sarah Hussein Obama. His brother Roy chose Islam over Christianity, and in the book he talks about how proud he was of Roy. In 1992, Roy was married. Roy had studied after Malcolm X. He is linked to the Black Nation of Islam and now lives in Chicago. As Obama said in his own speeches, by his own words, most of his family is Muslim. Now, having said that, the strong Islamic connections. There is a fellow student who knew Obama when he was called Barry in Indonesia attending school. In 2007, a classmate named Ronnie Amaris, now a bank manager in Jakarta, Indonesia, Ronnie had a picture taken with the young Obama, and he said that Barry, that's how we knew him then, was a devout Muslim. And they played together. Obama prayed in the neighbor's prayer room wearing a sarong. That's a special prayer robe, Islamic prayer robe. Ronnie said Obama at one point had to change his religion if he ever intended later to run for the office of President of the United States, because Americans would never elect a Muslim to be President of the United States. Now that's a friend of his talking who knew him as a young boy in school. The Indonesian school he attended is Francis Assisi. He was number 205, named Barry Soetoro. Of course, it had his father's step name on the paper. In fact, his stepfather was a citizen of Indonesia and registered on the paper. And this is the parents doing this. Please understand this. I'm not going to make any issue out of this, but he was registered as a Muslim when he entered the school. Now, that's interesting because that's a Catholic school. And in Bethlehem, Israel, there are Muslims and Catholics that go to the same school, or Christians and Muslims that go to the same school. But they allow them to register as either a Muslim or a Christian. So in other words, if his family, in fact, he even wrote one time about his family being religious and so on, but yet there's no indication of that, they did register him under an Islamic name. Now, that's one thing. But it gets deeper when you get to the college records. Let me look at some of the close friends of Obama. College at Occidental. He had a freshman roommate named Ahmed Hussein from Pakistan, who's now a Boston banker. He had another friend as a freshman, Wahid Hamid, who was from a wealthy Pakistani family. By the way, both of these men were Muslim. They traveled together to Pakistan after graduation and stayed for a period of time with Muhammad Hassan Kandu, who is now his family, I should say, the family of this man. And this man, Muhammad Hassan, is now the vice president of PepsiCo in New York City. In other words, he was close friends and roommates with several Pakistanis whose families were very, very, very wealthy Muslims. He also had a friend by the name of Sohail Siddiqui from Pakistan. In Dreams of My Fathers, Obama wrote that Siddiqui smoked marijuana, snorted cocaine, and liked to party. He was Obama's roommate at Columbia University. Now, but Siddiqui was not a student at the time, and they think he lived off campus. In fact, you can't even hardly get information on this because everything's been locked up. During the campaign, two of these men helped raise $100,000 and $200,000 among their Muslim contacts. It didn't make news, but I know this as a truth, that he was receiving $25 overseas from the Gaza Strip that was being funneled in through a company in America and through individuals who were giving it. So there was a real question. I talked to someone who was an insider to one of the campaigns who said it really is true. There's unaccounted for money coming outside, which, how many of you know that's illegal? No presidential campaign can take outside money. And I know probably they've all done it at some point, to be honest with you, and it didn't get caught. Or they wiggled around it somehow. I hope that didn't happen, but who knows. But anyway, this is some of the information that came out. Number two, please keep in mind that South Chicago, where he is from, is a very heavy stronghold for Nation of Islam. You cannot win a political position of any kind in South Chicago without the thousands and thousands of individuals who are headed up by Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. Now, I want to show you something. I want to stop there and say, now, if you had been raised in an Islamic school and had Islamic stepfather and grandparents, and you had college friends who were Muslim, there's no way you can tell me you can't be influenced by the fact that they don't like the Jews, they don't like Israel, they don't think the Jews have a right to the land, and you hear this from the time you're a child to your teens through college, which are the time periods anybody will tell you that are the most significant in the life of a child. So consider that, and let's go from there forward in time. This is something that I observed during the time of the election, and of course, in election cycles, you must be very careful what you say. And I didn't know what to do with it, to be honest with you. I thought, I really think there's something to this. Islam has 70 signs of the last days. Many are in the Hadith. Some are the sayings and the actions of Muhammad. The sun rising seems to come into play from time to time. And Muslims around the world who know Islamic prophecy, this is a very important prediction to them. I'm going to read it to you. The hour will not come. Now remember, when Muslims talk about the hour, it's the last days. The hour will not come until the sun rises from the west. When the people see it, then those who are on earth will believe. But that is the time when belief will not profit a soul which did not believe before the time. Now, I did an Islamic commentary to try to find out, different scholars, what do they think the sun means in this prediction? One prediction, or one commentary said, the sun rising in the west and not the east is a prediction that that's what will happen. It will actually come up from the west in the morning instead of the east. Now, I read that and I thought, now, wait a minute. Whoever gave that commentary has to understand everybody's dead at that point. If the sun ever comes up in the west instead of the east, the earth has shifted, everything's gone backwards, we're all dead, and that's not biblical. Come on, we're going to rule 1,000 years on earth that it still exists. So, number two, the second interpretation was the sun or the light of Islam, the truth of Islam, as they would say, will shine in the Western nations and be received well. That's a common prediction. Number three, third prediction is the sun is a messenger, a person, a leader who will come out of the Western nations and not only be positive toward Islam, but help promote Islam and protect and defend Islam, and eventually many will be converted to it. Louis Farrakhan believed the third one. I saw him preach on television in Pensacola, Florida, and I decided I just wanted to see the whole speech. He is a very charismatic individual. There's no question about that. And he can preach. I mean, he really can. He can speak and he can preach. I tell you where he got that from. He got that from hanging around Christians when he was a kid. You understand what I'm saying? It's like these singers that can sing. A lot of them started out in church. Well, he's preaching and I'm listening, and he's promoting, of course, Islam, but he makes a statement at the end. He talks about the sun will rise in the west. Now, he tried to paint himself as the messenger who was that sun, and kind of like, if people will listen to me, follow me, we're going to have this happen. However, in the 1974 Savior's Day address, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, quote, "You are witnessing the setting of one sun and the rising of another." And that was in 1974. Louis Farrakhan made this statement. I have the exact words as he made it. He was preaching to a group of young people prior to the election, and he was talking about his friend Obama. He said, quote, "You are the instrument that God is going to use to bring about universal change. And that is why Barack has captured the youth, and he has involved young people in a political process that they didn't care anything about. That's a sign. When the Messiah speaks, the youth will hear, and the Messiah is absolutely speaking." Now, why would they? And he later came back and said, no, I'm talking about this, no, I'm talking about that. But the speech in the context pretty much says it all. Why did he say that? Well, I was curious about something, and let me just read this before we show it to you. This was during the campaign. On Friday, June the 20th, a new seal debuted on Obama's podium Friday. Using iconography instead of the U.S. presidential seal. In other words, it was a replacement of the U.S. presidential seal. The blue background, the eagle clutching the arrows on the left, the olive branch on the right, but the symbolism is different. Instead of the Latin e pluribus unum, out of many one, Obama's version reads verso passumus, rough Latin for yes, we can. Instead of the seal of the President of the United States, Obama's website address is listed. Obama's eagle is wearing an O campaign logo with a sun rising, representing hope. The seal that you see on many people's bumper stickers, the seal that you see is the sun rising. This seal, I tried to trace back where it was made. It's my understanding it was made in Chicago. It also is my understanding from people in, political positions that there were several key Muslims working for the campaign. Now, I'm going to say something to you. Honestly, from a total